Your favorite team most likely is not going to win the NBA Finals, and they are not as good as you probably think they are. This video is going to be a little different from most of the things I've done on this channel before, but I just thought of it and thought it'd be a fun idea, and that's why I'm doing it. Basically, I'll be going through the top 8 teams from each conference and giving a few reasons why I do not think your team is going to win the NBA Finals. Now, if your team is not in the top 8 seeds of their conference, I should not have to explain to you why they aren't going to win the finals and why they suck. So I don't need to go over them. That's why I'm only going over the top 8 seeds. So I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, comment and hit the like button. It would mean the world to me. But let's get into this video. So we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference, and we're going to start off with the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference in the Boston Celtics. Now, Boston, admittedly, these reasons are definitely the biggest stretch out of any team, but let's get into them. First, I want to get into that Tatum kind of has to prove that he can be the number 1 guy on a finals winning team. Now, I do think he is good enough for that, but he just kind of has to prove that because up to this point in his career, he's gotten to the finals, he's gotten to the conference finals, and he's won at those levels, but he's won everywhere except the NBA Finals. So he still has to prove that he is a good enough player at a high enough level to be the best player on a championship winning team. And that is definitely the last step he has to take until he becomes that like elite MVP level player that everyone kind of thinks that he is. And then also, they don't have really a legit third star player, which is a little bit important, but with how good Jason Tatum is and how good Jaylen Brown are, and then even they have Malcolm Brogdon off their bench, Al Horford's pretty good, Robert Williams, they just have a very deep and good built team, and that kind of makes up for not having a third star, but that can be a very, very hard thing to do, to win a finals without 3 legitimate star level players. And then lastly, Luke Cornett's defense, if he is closing out like that in the NBA Finals, where he just jumps in the paint, that is just aids to the eye, okay? Luke Cornett's the reason Boston won't win the finals. And now moving down a seed, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, and the reason I came up for them is the fact that their health has been a major concern as of late, as Chris Middleton has only played 7 games for them. He didn't play a game for them last playoffs, and if he can't stay healthy, it's going to be very hard for this team to make a deep run to the NBA Finals without him, because he is their second best scorer on the entire roster, and he is a huge part to what the Milwaukee Bucks try to do. And then you add on top of that Giannis has now missed 5 straight games as well. The health is really kind of becoming a very big concern for this team, and we really need to see how good they can be once they get fully healthy, and they need to build that chemistry back up a little bit as well. And now to the 3rd seed, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, and the reason I came up for them is the fact that they have Doc Rivers as their coach. Doc Rivers, really since he was on a stacked Boston team and coaching that, he hasn't been able to win anything. It's been a very long time since he's won anything at the highest level, and he just has to show that he can still do it, and he has choked in the playoffs continuously at pretty much ever since he won that first NBA Finals. And then I get either kind of smaller note with Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris has to prove that he is good enough to be the 3rd best player on a championship winning team. Tobias Harris is a very solid player, but is he good enough to be the 3rd best when he's competing for the NBA Finals? We don't know that yet, and he kind of has to prove that. And the next team on the list is going to be the Brooklyn Nets, and their biggest one is really just self-destruction. This team is pretty much the Kardashians of a basketball team. They stay with drama. Things are always happening. Like, you never know what Kanye Irving's going to do. You never know if Kevin Durant's going to end up getting hurt or have a burner account and say some crazy stuff on Twitter. Ben Simmons might just decide his mental health isn't good enough and completely leave the team. You really never know what's going to go on with this Brooklyn Nets team. So really, their biggest enemy and the biggest issue to stopping them from making the finals is really themselves. The next team is going to be really the new kids on the block with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the reason I came up for them is that they are just a very, very young team, and they kind of just have to figure things out. Donovan Mitchell has never won at the highest level. Evan Mobley's in only his 2nd year. Jarrett Allen really hasn't ever had a chance to win at a very high level either, and then Darius Garland is also very young himself. The only player on this roster that's really knows how to win is probably Kevin Love. At least winning the NBA Finals level is Kevin Love, and even he got carried by LeBron to get there. Now, he didn't get carried, like he was a big part, but still, you know, like he wasn't the main guy, so they really don't have anyone that's that knowledgeable on how to win at the high level, and that only comes from experience. So this year they might not have enough experience to go all the way. And now the Miami Heat are constantly here, like they're always going to be good, but the problem with them is that they just have a lack of talent. Their coaching staff is insanely good, their system's insanely good, they're always going to play as hard as they can every night, especially in the playoffs. Playoff Jimmy Butler is different, but they really just don't have the talent to do it, because outside of Bam Adebayo, who's really good, and Jimmy Butler, who's really good, they don't have much talent after that. Tyler Hero is fine, he is above average, but he's not a star level player. He's not going to carry you to the NBA Finals or anything like that. And then Victor Oladipo is no longer the Victor Oladipo that we once saw at Indiana, so they really just have a lot of bad things going for them. And Kyle Lowry should be put in a retirement home at this point. Like, they just don't have the talent, in my opinion, although their system is very, very good, and they're going to be a tough out no matter who they play. And now going to the New York Knicks, well, the biggest reason is, well, they are the New York Knicks, okay? Like, since I've been alive, the Knicks have never even been good, and when the 1 year that they were good, they got destroyed in the playoffs by the Trae Young-led Atlanta Hawks, okay? So, I just have no faith in the Knicks. They're the Knicks, that's the reason. And the final team in the Eastern Conference, we have the Atlanta Hawks, and the main reason for that is that they just play like morons. Like, their team is just in a very weird state, and unless they make a big trade, I just can't see them going far in the playoffs. They have Trae Young chucking up shots every time he's on the floor. Same with DeJounte Murray. They both take so many shots. John Collins has suffered greatly because of it, and he hasn't looked the same. Then they have young guys like AJ Griffin, who is a very good scorer, but they have more than enough scoring on this team. Jalen Johnson's fine. Okongu's fine. And they're just very young, and they don't play winning basketball, at least playoff winning basketball, so I just can't see the Atlanta Hawks really making a deep run at all. And now it's time to move conferences over to the Western Conference, and the first team on the list is going to be the Denver Nuggets. Now, the Denver Nuggets are having a very good season, but one of their biggest problems has been their defense at times have been atrocious. Now, it has been better as of late, and it has been getting better, so they are showing positive signs of fixing their by far biggest weakness, but their defense right now I think is ranked 20th in defensive efficiency, and that's just not going to cut it once you get to the playoffs. You have to be able to lock up a team in clutch time, and if that defense doesn't improve even more than it already has, they're going to struggle to win at times at the highest level in those close games when it is playoff time, and that is a huge deal in the playoffs. So unless Denver can fix that defense, they could be looking at a kind of disappointing playoff run, but I do think with the positive signs, they could be fixing that right now. And then also kind of a smaller note is that Michael Porter Jr. is a glass cannon. That dude is either going to be healthy and play very good, but the second you breathe on him, he's going to break a leg and he's not going to be there for the entire playoffs, and that would be a ginormous hit to the team if he can't play all games in the playoffs for them. Now for the team that you either love or hate, the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies, one of their biggest things is the fact that they don't really have a third star, meaning that they do have Ja Morant, who's a beast, Jaron Jackson Jr., who is very solid as well, but then after that, they don't have another bona fide star, and having a big three is a very big deal when it comes to trying to win a championship, because it usually goes like you either have one MVP level player and then two all-star level players behind them, or you have two superstar level players, and I don't personally think Jaron Jackson Jr. is a superstar, and I don't think Dylan Brooks is good enough to be considered an all-star level player, although he is very good. So I do think they do desperately need a third star, and then on top of that, I think Jaron Jackson Jr. is a little unreliable in the playoffs. Not that he plays bad, but that he plays undisciplined, and that showed a lot last year. I think he fouled out like 2 or 3 times in their playoff series, which is a huge deal. When your second best player is getting fouled out, that is a ginormous problem for them. And then in even smaller note, the fact that Steven Adams at times in the playoffs can get played off the court because he just doesn't fit. Like, he can't guard the perimeter at all, and teams game plan around that and take advantage of that, and his minutes get cut drastically, at least they did last year, so that could also be a big problem for the Memphis Grizzlies going forward. And now the third seed, no one would have thought they'd be here, the Beam Team, the Sacramento Kings, are finally having success in the NBA, literally the first time since I've been alive that they've been a relevant team. The Kings, though, they do have a little bit of problems, and mainly their problem is their lack of talent. Now, I tried to get different reasons for most of these teams, but the Kings just kind of fit the same mold that the Miami Heat did. They don't have that much talent to win the NBA Finals. De'Aaron Fox is a very good point guard, don't get me wrong, and Domantas Sabonis has been playing out of his mind. I really like Keegan Murray. He He was one of my favorite players in the draft, and I do think that they just have a very solid team all around them as well, but I just cannot see them being good enough to beat the elite of the elite in the NBA. Even if they somehow made the finals, I don't think they could win a 7-game series against any of the legit finals contenders, so I just don't think they have the talent to do it, but I do think that they're a very solid team, and they're going to be a hard out no matter who plays them in the playoffs. And now the 4th seed, we have the Pelicans. Now the Pelicans, I think this one's fairly obvious. Their health is a major concern. B.I. has missed the majority of the season so far. Now he is set to come back fairly soon, but his injury problems are a huge concern, especially when you add the fact that Zion Williamson is now missing a few games as well with a hamstring injury. That could nag him for the rest of the season, and that is a ginormous concern, because although they do have a very deep team and they really have all their bases covered, they no longer have that deep team if their star level talent is getting injured. So I think they desperately need to get them back, get a little chemistry flowing, because right now I think the big three has only played like 4 games this season together, and that is a ginormous concern for a Pelicans fan like me. And now the 5th seed, we have the Dallas Luka Doncic's, and that is basically their biggest problem. The fact that they don't have anyone alongside Luka Doncic. Yes, you have Luka, probably the best white guy almost ever to play. I'm not going to give him that title yet. He probably has to win a finals for that, but he is definitely up there. And Luka Doncic is an absolute beast. Like, he is unstoppable. But the problem is, he does have a solid team. Like, they have Spencer Dinwiddie, they have Christian Wood, they have other solid players around him, but those are no star level players. They need to make a trade or something to get another star, because I don't care how good you are, one player in today's NBA like Luka is not going to win you the final. And the Dallas Mavericks desperately have to get that under control, or they could be seeing Luka maybe leaving them in the next few years if they can't get him another star. Because really, if you just got him another all-star level player, you would legitimately probably make the finals this year if he just had another all-star level player to play with. Now, the 6th seed Golden State Warriors, probably the most surprising to be this low, honestly, is the fact that, one, they're just old. They're getting old. Steph Curry's getting up there in age. Now, you can't really tell. Steph Curry's been a beast. Klay Thompson got off to a rough start. He's been playing better as of late, but he's still not the same Klay Thompson we once knew. Draymond Green, well, he can't score the ball at all at this point. Like, he is just straight defense. And then the young guys they have, like Wiseman, Kuminga, Patrick Baldwin, Moody, and all their other young guys, they're solid, but they're nothing that's going to win you a playoff game. Like, they're okay, but they're not good enough to, or star level talent enough to really do anything. Jordan Poole is really good, and I guess that's a young guy that could be good for them. But even Poole, I wouldn't put him as a star level player, not yet at least. So I think that they're getting a little up there. Now, I'm not saying they can't make it, but I just think that them being that old is a huge problem, and that age kind of the next reason as well. Their health hasn't been the best, and their health with Steph Curry being out. Now, Steph Curry has come back looking like a demon with the arm sleeve, but he still missed about a month. Klay Thompson has had injury issues in the past. Draymond Green might get injured, you never know, and that could be a huge problem for them. And then lastly, the chemistry just isn't the same. I mean, the big three for the longest time, they were all best friends, but now Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole in the face, and there's been big problems after that. Draymond Green went on a podcast in the middle of this season, by the way, saying that he might be leaving. The writing on the wall is there for him to be leaving Golden State and things like that, and just crazy talk for the middle of a season. So I just think the chemistry isn't all there right now, and that could be a big reason why the Golden State Warriors have struggled as much as they have in a very long time. And now the second to last team, we have the Los Angeles Clippers, and their issue is pretty obvious as well. I mean, Kawhi Leonard just refuses to play. Now, he has played a few games, but he has not consistently played in a very long time, and he just has to play. If he would just play, this team would be a finals contender, but he doesn't play. Like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him. He got his bag, he got his 2 rings, and it really looks like he's just going to be coasting from there. And then, obviously, Playoff P is just an absolute catastrophe. Like, Playoff P is very bad. No one wants to see playoff Paul George, okay? We know what can happen when Paul George gets in the playoffs. It just doesn't look very good at all. And then the final team for this video, we have the Utah Jazz, and the reason I have them is, well, Lauri Markkanen is not Michael Jordan, okay? He is very good. He's having a very good season, but Lauri is not Michael Jordan, okay? He's not carrying this team to the finals. I don't care what you say. After Lauri Markkanen, they have Walker Kessler, Jordan Clarkson, Sexton, Conley. They have a good team, okay? Don't get me wrong, but they're not going to win the finals unless Lauri turns into Michael Jordan somehow, some way. But unfortunately, guys, that's my favorite video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that your team won't win the finals? What do you think I got wrong? What do you think I got right? Who do you think will win the finals? I need your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like the video, point to like, subscribe, and it would mean the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. God bless you. See you next video. Bye-bye.